One of the things that I really wanted to point out in the history of Aero is what an impact Magnum had. And just from the enthusiast side, it's very hard to convey what an impact the ride had on people's psyches. To the point that I very much so remember the very first time I saw Magnum. It was 1989, come from a family of thrill seekers. And we were just driving into Cedar Point like we normally do, and we're so excited to ride this brand new ride, and you can't faze us, we're thrill seekers. And we drove out onto the causeway, and we saw Magnum peeking up above the trees, and the car went silent. There was no more bravery, there was no more I can't wait to ride. All we could think was, this isn't humanly possible, it's too tall. And it's so hard to imagine that now, with coasters 300, 400 feet tall, and who knows, the sky's the limit. It's so hard to understand what an impact that made. But in 1989, 200 feet might as well have been somewhere to the moon. It was incredible. And it was really the cannon shot that began the coaster wars. From that point on, everything changed. Everything was about how fast can we get, how tall can we get, how steep can we get. And Magnum was the coaster that started it all. And for enthusiasts and for fans of Cedar Point, Aero became the hero because we were so proud of this ride. It was known around the world. It was just an absolutely incredible force to be reckoned with in this park. It scared people, it exhilarated people, it made them cry, it made them scream. There was nothing quite like it, and it's very difficult to understand that now in 2015. But in 1989, it was absolutely the end, and it was all about Aero. It set the precedent for airtime. That we thought we knew airtime before. No, this was the airtime monster. And it created airtime addicts in a lot of us because 3 seconds of sustained airtime over the third hill. We'd all count 1, 2, 3 and cheer. We knew this was an incredible thing we were experiencing. And it really got all of us going in this idea of what's next? How tall can we go? How big can we go? If you really think about it, it wasn't top for a very long time. It was close to 6 years, I believe. And in that time period in the industry is a very, very long time. So for all this period of time, it was the thing to be beaten, and nothing beat it. It was the coaster.
Talk about how Aero affected you personally and getting you into the career that you're in today.
Aero is the reason I'm here. I was an Aero girl. I'm still proud to say it. I knew from learning the history of Cedar Point how important Aero was to the industry and to this park. And there was such an admiration that I had for Aero, not only for their history, but for the rides that they created. And to me, it all started at Magnum. Magnum was where I learned that extreme thrills were very scary, but they were exhilarating, and I wanted more. And Magnum was the centerpiece of Cedar Point when I was a teenager going into high school and realized I want to work in this industry. So it became really the center of my life in a sense. Magnum was everything I loved about the industry. We really, at least to me, you have to think about the time period, that Aero dominated. Aero was the company that everyone else looked up to. Aero was the ride that always came up with something new and unique, and you knew if it was going to be an Aero, it was going to be good. To me also, Aeros are still the definitive airtime machines. They have an airtime that is just so exquisite. It honestly is, if you're an enthusiast. There's nothing else like it. And if you're going through the park and you're having a good time riding this, riding that, and you think, I want some airtime, you're going to get on an Aero. And that's what I'll always remember Aero coasters truly being, is those airtime machines. It created that standard of airtime, and I really feel like it created it in the minds of the enthusiasts and in the industry that airtime was something to seek out, and it was important to the coaster. There was definitely a point in time where it felt like things started getting more advanced. Things started getting more refined. Things started getting engineered to a finer degree. And in a lot of ways, Aero was a little bit behind in that. When you ride an Aero as compared to a coaster from past 2000, you can tell the difference. The angles are more squared off. There's more of a feeling that you're riding an older coaster. And while we enthusiasts may love that, that could be seen as a fault, unfortunately. Well, of course, I like to say it should be known for Magnum. And I really do feel like Magnum was their crowning achievement. When you think about that point in time of 1989, what was going on in the industry? What had just been built? And really, Magnum was not only the cannon shot that started the Coaster Wars, but it really was this pinnacle point for them. And it remained unbeaten for so long. I personally feel that Magnum was the crowning achievement, but I'm a little biased. But if I wanted to say what it could be known for those of us in their 30s and 40s that grew up going to parks that really started to flourish after the Disneyland era and into the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we grew up with Aero. And we became lovers of roller coasters because of Aero rides. And they inspire us in the industry. They truly do. All the industry people still talk about Ron Toomer and his coat hanger constructions. And we all look up to Aero, and we all miss Aero, and know that they were truly a defining point in the industry. So not only was what meant to the industry of the creation of these incredible rides and setting new standards constantly for themselves, but it was also what it did for the enthusiasts. And I really do believe it was Aero that created the incredible, strong, passionate fan base that enthusiasts enjoy today.